I'm Dean, I'm the dad.
I'm Laura, I'm the mom.
I'm the son.
And confused.
And together we are...
Family Plot.
You don't get what the laugh was about?
Well,
because
it's an early start on spooky season?
Yes, this is our first show of the spooky season.
Yes, but you're supposed to give us a heads up that you're going to do that, and there's no in the notes.
Well, it was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. I'm sorry for being creative and spontaneous. I will try to limit that in the future.
Well, it's okay. Now that we know that it's coming, it's not really spontaneous anymore.
Yeah. So, sorry.
All right. Well, we have a heck of a spooky season for you, and this is just the first part. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. If you want to help us out, a couple ways you can do that. First, there's Patreon, a monthly donation. There's $1 and $1, and through the end of, I'm going to put it through October because things are real weird right now with podcasting in general. Like, for weeks and weeks, we've been like doing great numbers, and then last week we just sort of tanked, and that means either people hate Boudica or something is going on. And after talking to other people, I've come to the conclusion that something is going on.
I see. Good to know.
Anyway, so I'm going to push it till the end of October, but between now and the end of October, the people who take the most $3 donations, which is for Laura and Lexi, get a special prize. If they do $1 donations, which is me and Arthur, they get a different special prize.
Yeah.
Depending on who the most donations we get. So, and then if you cannot do a monthly donation, you can always do a donation of $1 or $2 through Buy Me a Coffee. We appreciate anyone who helps us out.
Absolutely.
You enjoy the show.
And you can't afford to support us financially. There's one thing everybody can do.
That's right. You can share it on social media. If you enjoy the show, you can share it on social media.
Share it with friends.
Share it with family.
With
everyone.
And if you don't enjoy the show, please
keep it to yourself. If you don't have anything nice to say,
don't say anything at all.
Thank you. There you go.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
All right. So what are we talking about this week? Well, this week we bounce around America as we look at phantom trains and other haunted phenomena related to the rolling wheels and rattling sounds of America's first method of mass transit. In this Man, Does America Have Some Weird Apparitions folklore episode of the Family Plot podcast.
Okay, so now we have ironed all the bumps, boos, and bruises out of the first of our episode today. First off, I think I'm just really excited that we're coming into spooky season because it's one of our favorite times of year, right?
Yes.
Coming up to an episode that I chose.
Oh, ah.
Which episode did you choose?
I forgot the name of it, but I watched someone explore this haunted place, and
that's one of.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Spooky season ones.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
one of the haunted places we're looking at.
Gotcha. All right. Well,
I'll remember it when I hear the name.
So tonight we're going to bounce around the country a bit as we chase folklore. We will begin with Lincoln's Phantom Funeral Train, which puts us between Washington and Springfield, Illinois for the first part. Now, there are several Headless Lanternman stories, but we will cover the way those stories are set up instead of the story itself, as they are so similar. We will then go to the Bostonian Bridge in North Carolina and witness a train tragedy that replays itself on a regular basis. And finally, we go to Frenchtown Road near Baton Rouge to deal with a ghostly locomotive that appears there as well.
Can I just ask, are we going to talk about why the Bostonian Bridge is in North Carolina instead of...
Bostian, not Bostonian,
Oh.
Bostian.
I was confused. Okay, see, you already covered it. Great job. First, should we go to Arthur's Corner?
We should always go to Arthur's Corner.
Okay, let's go to Arthur's Corner.
Hear ye, hear ye! Allow me to present Arthur's Corner!
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my corner. How are we doing today?
Little tired, little under the weather, but we're doing all right.
Yeah, we've all got a little bit of sickness, I feel. Y'all can probably hear it in my voice. My voice don't sound good right now.
Yeah, I'm a little sick.
A little sick.
But I just mean in the head.
Insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain.
We don't have licensing on that.
I know. Sorry. Anyways.
We're proud of the 90s reference. That's our kid,
It's
ladies
a good
and gentlemen.
It's
That is
song.
our kid.
It's a good song.
How about you? How are you?
I'm doing
Okay,
pretty
other than
alright.
the sickness.
I'm doing pretty alright, other than a sickness. What I wanted to talk about today was a new hyperfixation I got, and y'all can blame Blue for this one. Our sound engineer. Our sound engineer. I just finished the game Detroit Become Human.
Very nice.
Which is about, androids trying to gain a place in humanity.
I feel tied to that as well, because for those of us who are fans of Grey's Anatomy, also Detroit is our own Jackson on Grey's Anatomy.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong about looking at that pretty young face.
Oof.
He is quite the handsome, strapping lad. That's Sir.
Hell yeah. Anyways.
And apparently I'm chopped liver.
No, honey, you are amazing.
Oh, no, too late now.
It's not. You can have.
You know what?
Don't you find any female superhero attractive, Dad?
Yes, he does.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
He does.
Your mother. You're a superhero.
Okay, he is so incredibly sweet, but I know that he finds other females on this planet attractive.
Can find fictional characters attractive. It's okay.
Pretty to look at. He is young enough to be one of my children. I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, but he is pretty to look at, like the Mona Lisa, or...
Guys, Dad is jealous.
Or I'm giving your mom
Vin Diesel.
because I know she'll take it.
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel, old movies are still pretty to look at.
So basically, Detroit Become Human. Androids are trying to gain some sort of humanity because their owners are, or they're just their, I don't know. What else would you call that?
Employers?
Well, not employers, because they don't get paid to do anything.
Dirty ass hats?
Sponsors? I don't know I have never played the game. I'm just
I'd say owner.
Anyway,
they're trying to get rights because their owners are being absolute trash towards them, treating them like garbage,
treating them like slaves.
Like slaves.
Honest.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's literally the main point of the game. It brings in LGBT and race stuff.
Yeah, I mean, in general, just the fact that humans or even any type of beings with feelings should be considered. But that's a very, very deep conversation to have.
One of the main quotes in this game is, "People don't like things that are different." And I felt that.
What always drew me to the X-Men and mutants and that understanding of being looked at as something different, something less than human because I was overweight, because I was different than the average population. So I get that. There are all types, races, genders.
There's a bit of everything in this world, and whatever you are, some people will not like it. And that's basically one of the main things of this game, and that is the message carried across this game.
Yep.
So as you're playing as these other androids finding themselves deviate, and you're playing as this main android hunter, Connor. No, not Blue's boyfriend, Connor.
Yeah, no, we get that.
You're playing as Connor, who's a deviant hunter, trying to find out how to stop the deviants. Along the way, he himself, in my game at least, will deviate. And he will find that what they were doing all along, what he and the lieutenant they were with, that he was finding them with, would find the other sort of team, the deviants, as the, hey, these people aren't that terrible.
Yeah. That makes sense.
They must not be talking about children.
You were so nice. Your son is giving you a very stern look.
I noticed. I was just trying to be funny. Forget it. Let it go. Move on to your next thing.
He's talking about something serious.
Okay,
He's trying to put some levity in your seriousness.
That's not the correct.
Yes.
Levity. Yeah.
Y'all playing with Play-Doh?
Yeah? You have a problem with it? We're listening to every word you say. You have our undivided attention, with the exception of our hands, which will play by themselves. Nicely. They're playing by themselves nicely, not inappropriately, you dirty-minded child.
It's not my fault. Blame it on Blue as well.
No. Ownership. Ownership of your issues. You are old enough to take ownership.
No.
You are old enough to take ownership of your own issues.
Okay. But yeah, I basically found that interesting because it's one of the things that I feel a lot. And it's very nerve-wracking, despite how cute of a game it is.
Well, I'm glad it's cute, but even, cute games can be challenging.
It made me stress so hard.
That's kind of a sign of growing up, too. You start taking, more interest in things and being content with putting more effort into your endeavors. You start doing things that take longer times and all of that.
Yeah, because that game was long as
language.
You can bleep.
We're over here playing with children's toys to keep things PG-13. You, during your corner, have made this corner have to bleep now.
Now you got your corner dirty. Look at that. You feel happy about yourself?
I can cuss more and make you bleep out more.
Yeah,
I am 15. Did you not expect me to cuss?
Yes, actually, I didn't. I expected you to be like Mom, just a perfect little angel who never said a word, but I should have known that Blue would corrupt that. And Blue's grounded.
She has cussed before on accident when we have both had to fix it. So, try again.
Wow, sassy.
Hey, what did you do to this child? She used to be good.
I know, she was good when I was... And I need to recheck that statement, sir. Wow, there's a lot of hash slinging in this episode.
Yeah, why are we being so mean to each other, guys?
Maybe you should finish telling us about the video game so we can go back to the script.
Yeah, so basically, that's the main purpose of this game. And I found it very interesting because obviously I'm way different from a lot of people, and a lot of people would be like, eh. And a lot of people would be like, I don't like how you live, because I've met people like that. I've come face to face with people like that.
Name them.
And I'm just
How
like,
dare they?
it makes me really...
Someone just like at school and stuff?
Yeah, like at school, on online platforms,
So I'm
everywhere.
Right now, if I am ever somewhere with you and someone says something like that to you, you better draw my attention to it. Because I have never had to take someone to task like that, but I promise you I freaking will. I'll get arrested for your butt. You better just not even. Mama Bear will come out.
I know that I need to switch it again, but your contact name used to be Mama Bear, because sometimes you get so angry about stuff like that.
Nobody better be messing with my baby. You my baby. 3 days of labor to get your butt out of here.
But I feel a very close, like, sort of resemblance with that game, so it's just like...
I got you. That's awesome.
That's basically all there is to that.
That's your big thing. That has been your hyperfixation. So
yeah.
What's your next hyperfixation? Do you have a plan for that, or?
I don't usually have a plan for it. I find things along the way, and I just kind of... Oh. Halloween is probably... I am making a new mask. I'm making a new mask, and I'm matching with somebody else on TikTok, so that's pretty fun.
That sounds fun.
What is this?
That reminds me a lot of
It looks like a fox.
That reminds me a lot of your Demon Bunny mask that you had.
Oh, yeah. They had a Demon Bunny mask.
Talking to your father.
Oh, wrong.
I was actually going for like a demon rat, but it's lopsided and sucks, so.
No, it doesn't suck. I think it looks
definitely
cool.
Does not suck.
I probably couldn't do anything like that.
No, you definitely could, but you get a lot of your talent from this gentleman right here.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
I have no talent.
Yes, you do.
At least not with art.
Bull.
I have no artistic talent whatsoever.
I did make...
I agree with you.
Yeah, comedy is an art.
So I'm good at that, or at least I used to be.
Theatrical.
And as for theatrical, I don't know. I'm good with funny, not so good with anything else.
I don't know that I agree with that either.
Anyhow, I was gonna say...
Yes.
I have made masks, another mask, and I'm making a new mask.
The bunny, you said that.
I made the bunny mask, which I need to give Mom and Dad a picture so they can put it up on Facebook or whatever.
Yes, definitely.
I made
it up on Facebook.
I made them for the Renaissance Fair, and we're hoping that we get to go this weekend.
Yes, because we didn't get to go for my birthday. Oh,
played a pretty cool.
We played an amazing one shot. If you want to listen to that, and see if you want to release, we could
release it on Family Roll.
Well, we could release it on here as additional content for anyone who signs up.
Yeah, we could.
Anyone who signs up for a Patreon $3 a month subscription this month, all the way through the end of October.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else who signs up.
Well, I just think that's a thing, is that's part of your $3 subscription is you get access to special episodes, and that would be a special episode.
But this is a special episode that we have right now, and that you could get first access to, so.
Yep. I just got to put it up.
Yep. Okay.
All right.
How about we move on?
Yeah, absolutely. You ready?
You wanna take this next part,
you
Harper?
take the next part for us?
In episode 121, we covered the self-fulfilling prophecy of John Wilkes Booth. I remember that. And how he assassinated Lincoln at the Ford Theater, shooting him around 10 p.m. on April 14th. Or is that just how long it took for the bullet to hit? We don't know. 1865, Lincoln remained comatose for several hours before dying on the morning of the 15th, around 7 a.m. If you need more information about the assassination, we covered it in detail there. On April 21st, a 9-car train covered in black curtains and other heavy wraps, lit only by yellow lamps, made its way through 7 states, never traveling at more than 20 miles an hour, stopping at any large city so that ordinary people could pay their respects. This train was quite famous in its day. And so the next year, on April 21st, people began to see a similar train. A train covered in dark wraps with only yellow lights and a portrait of Lincoln on the front of the train. Only the train was silent as it passed down the railroad tracks, unless it blew its whistle, which sounded subdued and forlorn. If you can see the funeral workers on the train, they are said to be skeletons and
Sepulcheral.
Sepulcheral. Okay. Figures. The train is usually seen on the yearly anniversary of its trip and
where it was on that day of its trip many moons ago.
Oh. Is where it was on the day of its trip many moons ago. Sorry guys, my mouth is getting dry.
No, it's okay, and it's a weird way to phrase something. It's the only way I could come up with the idea that basically back in 1865, this train rolled through 7 states real slow so that everybody could get a chance to say goodbye to Lincoln. In addition to Lincoln, his son Tad was on the train, because Tad had died just a few months before.
Yes.
But his coffin wasn't open. I think the president's was, so that people could view it.
Gotcha.
And anyway, so many people came to view Lincoln and say their goodbyes to that man. But that train took 7 days. So if you go to, let's say, Springfield, Illinois, on the 28th at night, if you're going to see the train, that would be a time, because that's where it was on the 7th day of its trip back in the day.
I see.
So that's what it seems to do, is it seems to follow its route. But you can only see it at night. It's never been reported during the day. In addition to only seeing it at night, it's not seen much anymore. It still is now and again, but I could not find reliable reports past about 1950 or so.
Gotcha.
So, not to say that people haven't seen it, but I just couldn't find reliable reports.
I see.
So the report I'm going with was made on September 6th, 1879. The Wichita Express, a paper for Wichita, Kansas, it contained an interview with the former night switchman, which apparently a night switchman was the guy that when a train was coming and would need to get switched to a different track,
they would go out and do that with the lights.
Yeah. Yeah, he would switch the track for them. So,
Yes.
but he discussed seeing the Phantom train. He'd been waiting for a midnight train that was due to come by, but as it was just after 12, he assumed the train would come by closer to 12:30. He suddenly felt the hot wind of an approaching train, but heard no wheel noise. He turned to see a train using only yellow lights, with a portrait of Lincoln on the front inside a giant wreath. The train made no sound, but rattled past him without the wheel rattling sounds he was used to. He saw three strange figures on the train. A coal man who was fever-driven, shoveling coal into the train's furnace at a furious pace, which is odd because this train is only moving, as I said, at 20 miles an hour. A driver scanning the tracks as if looking for something, and then someone dressed all in black, wearing a top hat with a crepe paper around it and around his arm. It is this figure which stared at him, making him feel uncomfortable as the train jostled silently past him and around the bend into the dark night. The train is still seen to this very day, despite people not reporting it, apparently.
So that was definitely chilling. I've got a little. Should we take a moment and hear about another podcast?
Yes, absolutely we should. Also, we should ground Arthur.
Or having a dry mouth? That's not very nice, Daddy. It
Yeah.
is allergy season after all.
It is, and I'm sick. Sorry.
What is the matter with you? Why on earth would anyone want to watch videos about homicide? Because you're obsessed and because you pass a construction site and wonder if there's any bodies buried underneath that foundation? You're a weirdo. Just like the rest of us here spilling that homicidal tea. What is up, YouTube? My name is Rainy B, and welcome to my channel, Homicidal Tea. This is a safe space to spill the tea on all things true crime. Just a bunch of true crimers looking for an entertaining spin on some pretty heavy subject matter. What you will get when you subscribe to my channel is a pure and unadulterated, authentic look at mostly unknown but all solved homicide cases, narrated by someone who is an empath to a fault and truly and genuinely feels for these victims and their families left behind. There's no better way to take the power back from these perpetrators than by making these videos victim focused, something that you will notice a lot around here. Something else you'll notice is I tend to use a lot of humor and memes to break up the tension.
Stop it. Get some help.
I really like making fun of the killers too, any chance I get, so I'll throw a nasty little dig in there. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel, and hopefully I'll see you in the comments on the next video. Bye!
The Headless Signalman. So, for this story, we go to Maco Station, North Carolina, in 1867. One dark night at a station that was known as Farmer's Turnout, Joe Baldwin, a signalman, was on the caboose of his train, and his job as the signalman was to swing his light, letting trains coming up behind know they were there in the darkness of the night. On this particular evening, Joe Baldwin was riding on the back of the caboose, keeping a watch out for other trains, when he felt the train slow to a stop. Joe was confused because the train had just stopped in Wilmington, just 15 miles or so back, and the train almost never stopped at the Farmer's Turnout station. Turning around, he realized that the train had not stopped, but rather the caboose had become uncoupled. Turning around, he saw another train approaching fast behind him. Desperately, he swung his signal light, attempting to warn the oncoming train of the obstruction in the tracks, but it was too late. The train plowed into the caboose with enough force to decapitate Joe Baldwin.
That sounds like a thing from Supernatural.
I
Oh my
know,
gosh.
pretty awful. Those who saw the wreck swear you could see Joe's signal light fly a long ways before smashing into the ground. We know this wreck occurred because it was reported in the North Carolina and, to some extent, national papers. After that, many saw a bright red train signal like a lantern, so bright that many trains mistakenly stopped at Farmers Turnout, which later became Maco Station. It became such a problem that two signal lights were used at that station, a red and a green, to keep trains from being slowed to a stop by the solitary ghost light. Many said Joe's head was never found, and that the light could be seen at Maco Station was Joe Baldwin searching for his missing head. Since they removed the tracks at Maco, the apparition is reported far less often. The Headless Signalman is a common legend across the U.S. and even in Europe, where the legend is repeated with local variations. Most of these legends don't have a tragedy we have any evidence for attached. However, many will tell you that in some out-of-the-way bit of track somewhere, you can see a strange light as some signalman goes on with his eternal fruitless quest for his missing head.
That must be a bad afterlife.
Right? Just walking and walking and walking.
Why would that be a bad afterlife? I mean,
You're always searching for your head. You're always looking for the thing that makes you whole again. For how you hear, for how you see.
If you think it's bad for the dude who can move around, think about how it feels for the head.
Yeah. Where's his head? Didn't it get... I think it got crushed under the train wheel.
it's possible.
So he's basically searching for nothing.
Well, again, we don't... the parts of that story that I can confirm, Joe Baldwin was on the back of that train. It did get hit, or back of that caboose. The caboose did get hit by another train. Joe Baldwin was killed, possibly decapitated. It's not in every story, unfortunately. So, hard to say if that's a thing. Possibly decapitated. That's what we know now. And people have reported that light. To the point where an agency, the railroad company that made money, decided that they had to have two lights at that station so people stopped stopping for the ghost light. So that's what we know. Did he really lose his head? We don't know. But that's part of the legend. And the legend and the truth are very different things. Now, some time back, Astonishing Legends covered this thing where like 7 scientists did all this spiritualist stuff to conjure ghosts that none of them believed in. But they got responses. They got responses because they kept calling it by the same name and asking it to do these things, and it did respond. So a ghost that wasn't a ghost was really called into being by the belief of 7 scientists. So is this guy really missing his head? Or is there a ghost that's responding to the belief of people in the area?
Question.
So, yeah. But that's, again, that's the Signalman story. It is apparently based on a true story, but just like, I know there's Signalman stories all over this country. There's one famous one in Oregon. There's another one in Tennessee.
I think there's 1 or 2 here, so.
Yeah, but there's no evidence for most of them. This one had evidence.
Amazing.
And it was in the national papers, so that may be where the idea started in these other little places.
Yeah, and so that would just calculate them up as one of the regional folktales that we hear about.
Right. So let's talk about the Bostian Bridge train wreck. We go back to 1891 now in Iredell County, North Carolina, specifically August 27th of that year. On this morning, it is around 2:30 a.m., we find William West, engineer for the Richmond and Danville Railroad, very concerned that he was running over a half an hour late. At around 2:30 a.m., he pulls out of the Statesville station in a hurry and picking up speed. Less than 5 minutes later, the train flew off the Bostian Bridge, a brick, tower-style bridge, and in the investigation that happened afterwards, it was believed the train was going between 35 and 40 miles an hour, which was way too fast for the turn, and thus it derailed the train and flew off the bridge. The train was literally airborne when it came off. The sleeping car, which is one of the cars on the train with bunks for the passengers, not a car that slept by itself, that landed over 150 feet from the bridge, which tells you how fast the train was going when it derailed. Yikes. Many of the train cars were old-style wooden cars and smashed to pieces when they hit. 23 passengers died in the wreck, and a battered group of survivors walked to Statesville to report the wreck.
Walk?
This is 1891.
Well, it's not exactly like you can pick up the phone and call.
Well, yeah, I know, but I feel like if you were really, if you were a survivor, you'd at least have a couple broken bones.
Well, no. I mean, and if you have broken bones, what's going to happen? You're going to lay there until somebody happens on you, or you're going to go and you're going to get help. And that's what happened. They went and they got help.
That's fair.
I know, it's hard to picture that, the world being like that now, isn't it? And even sometimes we forget, and we still remember when that was a thing. When I was a kid, even pagers were next to... My sister got one, and it was a huge surprise for her birthday. I mean, but even those, and that was how people got a hold of you. You said, hey, I'm going here, and then I'll be back, and nobody talked to you until you showed up where you were going.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird to think about?
Yeah, that's pretty weird to think about, I think.
So, now, when they got to Statesville did not have its own hospital. So those who were injured were treated in private homes, while those who were deceased were taken to a nearby tobacco barn so they could be identified.
Sounds right.
This was one of the worst train wrecks in North Carolina history. The railroad company, which was not doing well financially, sent teams of railroad detectives searching through the area to find the cause of the wreck. It was initially said to be person or persons unknown removing spikes from the rails, and eventually two penitentiary inmates, which is very different than penitentiary intimates.
Yeah.
So could be the same. We don't know, and we don't...
Exactly. Two penitentiary inmates would accept blame, as they had said as much to other inmates, or at least according to the report. There is a theory that these two guys just happened to be free at that time, and that the railroad company sort of made them confess, so that they at least had people to attach a crime to.
That makes sense, too.
So, but yes, that is the Bostian Bridge crash. Now, there is a Bostian Bridge phantom train. Arthur, would you like to tell us about it?
Yes, I will. Hold on, I was fixing my face. It's falling over.
Why don't you fix mine when you're done?
Why?
Because it looks horrible.
It doesn't.
The ears are the wrong shape. It's lopsided. Fix it.
Mine doesn't even look that great.
Yours looks awesome. I was just making sure it was sitting up. Did I do okay? I didn't screw up the facial structure, did I?
No, you didn't.
Okay.
I was just being silly. Anyways, since that time, oops. Wait. Oh, Mom has it. Since that time, those near the Boston Bridge around 2:30 in the morning on August... Bostian.
Not to be confused like I was.
Boston. Oops. Bostian Bridge around 2:30 in the morning on August 27th can see and hear the fatal train crash for themselves. One woman left by her husband at their car, which had a flat tire, stood in the wee hours of the morning.
Yeah, wee morning hours.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I got stuck on that for a second, cause did you turn...
Just read what your father wrote.
I did not turn Scottish, but I like the term wee morning hours. Makes sense.
Okay, it does. I was just asking. Watching the bridge.
He got hung up on the phrasing.
I did. Sorry. She heard the whistle of a train and then saw it begin to rumble across the tracks. Soon she saw it fly off the bridge, heard the shrieks of its passengers, felt the impact of the cars hitting the earth, and ran to the third creek. The creek the Bostian Bridge crosses. Sorry, I'm working on it. Looking at wooden cars, broken and smoldering, she saw a car pull up behind hers and realized it was her husband riding in the car of a good Samaritan who was going to help them. She ran to them, telling them of the horrible wreck, but when she returned to the third creek with her husband and the good Samaritan in tow, there was no sign of the wrecked train. Her husband and the Samaritan put it down to her falling asleep and having a powerful dream. But when they returned to Statesville, they had lived of the... Wait, what?
When
They returned to Statesville.
they learned of the Phantom train.
And its wreck.
Here.
I'm sorry, I just got so... And its wreck, and knew that the woman had seen.
That was what...
That was what the woman had seen. Guys, I'm not doing good right now.
Okay, babe.
In an interesting... Okay, it's right. Okay, in an interesting postscript to this story in 2010, that's not that long. That's like... Oh, no, that's much longer than I thought. That's 14 years.
You were one.
That's 14. That's 14 years ago. Okay. That is wild. Okay. 12 amateur ghost hunters. Wow, great job. You're amateur. Ghost hunters had gathered on the bridge to investigate the ghost train. Unfortunately, a real train rumbled down the tracks around 2:45 a.m. But the people did not run from it as they thought it was the ghost train. One of the ghost hunters was killed and 2 more were injured in this accident.
Oh my God, that's terrible. Is that real? That really happened?
Yes.
That really happened.
Wow.
That's so unfortunate.
Wow. Why would you train?
If you think, I don't care if you think it's a ghost train or not. Don't.
Now, Jan, that's so. Ooh.
Well, imagine being... How do you explain that to... If you're one of the survivors? So how'd the accident happen? Well, we were ghost hunting for a ghost train. Uh-huh. We couldn't tell a real train from a ghost train. Uh-huh. All right.
You are ruled as kind of and very responsible. You're going to prison for all of these other people's deaths. Because you were the only one who was smart enough to know it was a train. Ow.
Oh, God.
That's so awful.
It is, but...
I'm so sorry for those families. For that family. Oh, my goodness.
When you're an amateur ghost hunter, you kind of just do what you want.
But... by the same token, if you're ghost hunting at, say, I don't know, a train where trains still go by, when you feel that track a moving, I don't care how big, how much of a ghost you think it is, you get off.
Get out of the way! Oh my God!
Let the train do its own thing.
Ew, that looks horrible.
But and I think the original crash, I mean, you guys had a point. Just imagine being in that crash, dragging yourself out, and then still having to walk back to town.
That's insane, because that would be multiple days walk, and you'd have to camp, and you'd have to try to catch things. And I think about, you've never sat down and watched, like, Little House on the Prairie reruns to see what that looked like?
I've heard of Little House on the Prairie.
So, like, that was an actual thing. Like, if you were traveling and something happened, there was some kind of accident, if you lived, then if you were close enough to a town, someone in the town might see it, but otherwise, it could be days before anyone would come along, and you're just
sitting there like,
SOL.
What do I do now?
Stuck on loan.
So, well, let's take a moment for a word from one of our sponsors to rumble by.
I feel sponsored and punny.
Why don't I take
I also feel sponsored, by the way.
Thank you.
You're
Why
welcome.
don't I take this next bit?
Please, because you're on something.
Now we are heading to Red Stick, Louisiana.
Red Stick?
Well, that's what Baton Rouge means.
Oh. Ha 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 ha.
In French is Red Stick, Baton Rouge.
Very nice.
It's pronounced Baton Rouge. So, yeah. It's one of those, like, people, why do you pronounce it Nevada, Missouri? Because that's how they pronounce it. Shut up and let it go. Frenchtown Road is in Baton Rouge. It was established in the early 1800s, where it was a vital link between the city of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and its rural counterparts. They were connected along this vital road that let people travel to the city to buy and sell goods and do other things necessary for the time. It's a stupid comparison, but if you look at this season where they first ran into the Whispering Dead, and that they sort of had that fair, and there were like roads that people were traveling on with wagons, kind of old-timey. That's the way that would have been around this time. So those roads were very useful.
Yes.
Rumors that are probably cut from whole cloth, as we could find no substantiation. Oh, I have jumped way ahead. Now, there was a railroad across Frenchtown Road, and there are rumors of an accident. Rumors that are probably cut from whole cloth, as we could find no substantiation for them. Anyway, some claim a train left its tracks and hit a school bus, killing everyone on the bus. Others claim that a train simply derailed, killing many of its passengers. While we could not find any substantiation for these or other stories, we were able to confirm that Frenchtown Road does seem to be a hot spot of supernatural activity, with many reported ghosts and other paranormal events. Whatever the case, there are plenty of reports of a phantom train seen and heard near a park in Frenchtown Road.
Should we take a few moments for another
word from our sponsors? Yeah, just in case, because we're looking at probably about 50 minutes right around
Yeah,
where we're sitting.
absolutely. Well, I feel sponsored.
I do too.
As do I.
Excelente. This story comes from Reddit, circa 2020, so that gives you an idea.
Oh boy.
We'll call our subject a helpful Redditor. A man met with his girlfriend before she had to get home one night at the conservation area just past the old trestle on Frenchtown Road. After kissing his girlfriend goodbye, he decided to smoke a cigarette before driving home. Soon, he heard the sounds of a locomotive chugging down. Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Soon he heard the sounds of a locomotive chugging down the old rail line. He was startled because he thought the train tracks on Frenchtown Road were no longer in use. Soon, he heard a train whistle coming closer and could even see an approaching cloud of smoke over the trees. But for the longest time, he saw no train. When he finally did, the train had not driven into view, but instead the train simply appeared, seemingly real and whole, and discharging passengers into an empty bit of grass. The passengers carried old-style suitcases and left on errands of their own, vanishing once they got a little ways past the train. Once the last passenger had disappeared, he looked up to see the train was gone as well. He heard the sound of a train whistle once more, and then he heard no more. Wow, that was creepy also.
Yeah,
I mean, it's from Reddit, so we take that as we do, but definitely an interesting, creepy tale.
Yes.
Predators are interesting.
That's what we said.
Hey, it's my favorite echo chamber. Don't knock it.
Yeah, your dad enjoys him some Reddit. Like, full on.
Reddit politics mostly.
Yeah,
Reddit politics are kind of
that's
interesting.
So I think we should head to our final thoughts. And as a difference, and because we were called out on it in a comment by the usual, why doesn't Arthur ever get to? Well, they said why doesn't Arthur ever get to give first final thoughts? So you get to give first.
Just you for allowing me to speak.
Free?
Thank you. I very much appreciate that. But here's what I think about the whole situation. I think that this is a very interesting sort of topic. I've never thought about a train ghost. Like, I understand apparitions and I understand big traumatic things turning into ghosts, or like turning into like the apparition. But I've never thought of it as like this in particular, because when you think about it, it makes you think a little bit. When you think about it, there are multiple things that were very traumatic that you just regularly sometimes see in apparitions, and that makes you think, so what else is just an apparition?
Yeah,
What else could be like exactly like this? It's just it's an interesting thing to think about, honestly.
Yeah. I will say that all of the rail phantom trains I could find seem to be mostly examples of stone tape theory, where this event has become trapped and
Right.
it replays itself every so often.
Well, and I wonder how much of that becomes an energy that in and of itself becomes an actual thing, you know? Because it's like how much emotional energy can be charged and put onto an object to make it actually become a recurring amount of energy that can just appear and disappear.
Right.
The other thing, now, the only one that I don't think holds to the phantom replayer thing, and that's just because of what people see driving the train. I think, like, the Lincoln train may be a less phantom and more demonic.
See, I don't know that. I can see where the mourning of a nation can create enough of a presence that would be what would bring something like that recurring. The mourning of an entire nation is a lot of energy, and while we don't mourn like that for downed presidents, or we haven't been in the scenario where we've had to do that, I think when you think back to the energy that we had as a country on 9/11, and you're old enough to where you remember that energy, that was the energy that was simply, it was drained. No one was doing anything except for seeing what was happening. The only people who were moving to do anything were the people who were going there. And
Wait. Wait, I have a postscript to this story, so remind me of it once you're done telling.
Okay. I know that you had a rough time with that date, and I'm sorry about that personally. But there was an energy to the country, and that's the kind of energy that I'm thinking about. If there was that kind of energy now, I feel like it was something that could happen repeatedly over the years going forward.
Okay, but my reasoning for thinking it might be demonic is this. People don't talk about seeing just the people who would have been on the train.
Right.
You know, they talk about seeing skeletons or these sepulcheral figures driving, this
Right.
crazy engineer and this, coal guy, and that sounds demonic to me. Almost as if, and if you think about it, it only repeats on the nights it did. On the nights that it was actually there, which sounds like some sort of weird magical rule. That's why I think it's kind of the devil going, okay, look, I had plans for the Civil War and this guy messed them up, but guess where he is now?
Maybe.
I think the devil gets to show off now. And if he didn't, God's not going to stop him until, the final day comes. So there you go.
I guess that's fair. That is definitely a completely opposing view, but I don't get.
Well, it's not. It's less opposing. I would say, yeah, it's just a recreation of that train. Again, if it was piloted by, Ghosts of Joe and Fred, the guys that drove the train or whatever their names were.
Right.
But these specific figures or skeletons, I don't know. That speaks ill to me, Kimosabi.
Fair enough. And I think that's our show, right?
Yeah. Why did you just roll your eyes at me at Kimosabi?
I'm trying to find out why you said that.
Okay.
They're not familiar with the.
Yeah,
I'll have to explain that to them.
When my mom was a kid, there was a show on TV called The Lone Ranger. Interesting, actually, though. The Lone Ranger was Dan Reed. Dan Reed had a silver mine. And he presented himself as this rich kind of playboy. But when, bad things happened, he joined up with his buddy Tonto, an Indian, and he, as the Lone Ranger, fought for justice. And he used a gun that fired silver bullets. And anyway, yeah. So, but Tonto always called the Lone Ranger Kimosabi. Now, I am probably violating 10 kinds of cultural BS doing that. And if so, I will apologize for it. But I was raised on stuff like that. So a lot of it's just stuck in my head and it comes goofing out without me thinking about it.
It's the child sort of nostalgia.
Right. When we were kids, those things were not as negative as they are now. Just like when our parents were kids, some of the horrible things that we have just about done away with in present company, they still remember as being the norm. So it's strange.
Yep. And as you were saying earlier, before I got eyes rolled at me.
I didn't roll my eyes. I was confused.
That is our show. Thanks, as always, for listening.
Yes, we do appreciate every single listen.
And thanks, in addition, for keeping us in the Good Pod's Top 100. Even though we did not have the listens I had become accustomed to last week, we still wound up there. So, again, thank you. I don't know what the deal was with last week, what was going on. Maybe just maybe the haunted houses opened and that affected our base. I don't know.
Haunted houses are pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thanks to Blue Bose, our sound engineer, responsible for the train you will hear leading us out of commercials and back into the show. Please join our Facebook group, complete with chat, moderated by our own Laura June.
Thank you. We
Thanks,
love our Facebook
Mom.
group. Come and chat.
You.
Thank you.
I love you, Mom.
Thanks to Bill Barrett. That last name is spelled Behrendt. Now, why do I spell it? Well, one, the guy is a solid listener. And when we put out our little teaser pictures of, hey, what are we covering? He always knows. And when he always knows, because he must listen the week before, thank you, Bill, for supporting us. In addition to doing our theme music. And if you need music for a project, Bill's your guy. Or if you need someone to perform at a local event, Bill will do that too. Well, you'd probably travel if you gave him enough money, really, just to get away from the house, family, kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway.
Travel if you give us enough money, too.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So,
come and hang out with your family and your kids.
Yeah.
We're just as talkative there as we are here, so.
Absolutely. Welcome.
So thanks to, and so you can reach him at Bill Barrett at spcglobal.net. Also, thanks to Paige Elmore of the Reverie Crime podcast. Now, she no longer is in the podcast game, sadly. She did leave us a lot of podcast game, sadly.
No, I like that. I think I want to use that as my own podcast name, podcast, and it's going to be a whole joke about how you just did that.
And now I'm heartbroken.
Oh, you're heartbroken, or are you proud, or a little bit of both? That's usually you.
Yeah, usually a little bit of both.
How dare you? You're both fired.
Going. You wouldn't make it without us.
Holy moly, this is
So, in addition to around 100 episodes of a truly great crime podcast, Paige is also responsible for a Canva addiction that she has combined with her own Arthur's artwork to create some amazing logo art. Thank you, Paige. Thanks also to Aaron Gnurk of the Big Dumb Fun Show for continuing to promote us locally. Please join us next week as we look into the haunted history of Weston, Missouri.
Bye.